The acting Minister for Foreign Affairs of Afghanistan has asked for the floor. I give him the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I would like at the outset to sincerely thank, in the name of the Afghan nation, all those who participated in the last 2 days' debate on Afghanistan. I would especially like, in the name of tormented Afghan women, wish to thank all those countries who stood strong and took a strong stance in defense of the rights, God-given rights of women in Afghanistan against the brutal and un-Islamic and uncivilized behaviors and deeds of the Taliban, violating basic human rights and basic principles of democracy, basic principles of the United Nations Charter, to which we are all committed. We also heard the appeals made by the distinguished members of the Council and also by the distinguished members of the United Nations who took part in the debate to all those Afghan conflicting sides to choose negotiations instead of conflict and war. As far as the Islamic State of Afghanistan is concerned, I could assure you, Mr. President, all the other distinguished members of the Council, that it will be communicated and it will be heard. As far as we are concerned, we have adopted a policy of respecting the United Nations resolutions, the General Assembly and the Security Council. We have expressed our readiness to support Dr. Holt's mission. We have expressed support for any negotiated political settlement at any venue, at any platform. It has been and continues to be the Taliban who have adopted an intransigent attitude towards the United Nations. And the record of the United Nations General Assembly and of the Security Council states that reality. Mr. President, we also heard a statement today by the distinguished Ambassador of Pakistan, Ambassador Kamal. We were not caught by surprise, but we were somewhat disappointed. Disappointed because Prime Minister of Pakistan had given promise that he would reconsider the policy of Pakistan government, new Pakistani government, with regard to the issue of Afghanistan. But the statement which the distinguished Ambassador of Pakistan made was the only one with a total different tone and spirit when we compare it with the statements made by all those distinguished representatives who took part in the debate. The distinguished members of the Council may recall that at one of the consultation meeting of the Security Council, it was reported that the former Minister of the Interior of Pakistan, Mr. Nasirullah Babar, had stated in a meeting in Mazar-e-Sharif that he had power of attorney from the Taliban. And the distinguished members of the Council were surprised by hearing that. And it was once again repeated by the distinguished representative of the Secretariat that it was exactly what was said by the former Minister of the Interior of Pakistan. In the statement, based upon what we heard in the statement of the distinguished Ambassador of Pakistan, it became somewhat clear that the government of Pakistan still tries to give some kind of legitimacy to the Taliban mercenaries. And when we say mercenaries, Mr. President, I think there are adequate reasons to justify the Taliban as a mercenary group. We have presented and submitted more than adequate documentations that they are being trained, financed, armed, and equipped in the Pakistani territory and Quetta, and then they are being sent inside Afghanistan for operations. Distinguished Ambassador of Pakistan made some suggestions. First of all, he was of the opinion that the Taliban are not the kind of power to be washed away easily. We have never advocated that the Taliban should not be hurt. The Taliban should not have any role in the shaping of the future political situations of Afghanistan. It is the Taliban who have continuously rejected any proposal for dialogue and negotiations. Distinguished Ambassador of Pakistan, in inviting the New York-based Taliban representative, and he even went to the stage of even about to give the exact location and direction of the office of the Taliban in New York. It was somewhat surprising, yes. He was inviting the New York Taliban under area formula. This would be a recognition that the current contacts of Dr. Hall with the Taliban is useless and inadequate. And moreover, Mr. President, I am wondering if there is any need for the Taliban to have a voice at the United Nations as long as they enjoy the presence of a loyal representative here at the United Nations. Listening to Taliban under the area formula by the Council would be basically contradictory to the resolutions of the General Assembly about mercenaries, especially those utilized against the right of self-determination and peoples of around the world. That would establish, definitely it would establish a dangerous precedent. Distinguished Ambassador of Pakistan preferred the vacant seat formula for Afghanistan and referred to a decision of the Organization of Islamic Conference. I was not clear to what decision he was referring because the Islamic State of Afghanistan continues to represent Afghanistan at the Organization of Islamic Conference. There has been many gatherings and meetings, the last as recent as 3 weeks ago. The representative of the Islamic State of Afghanistan represented Afghanistan at the meeting of the Organization of Islamic Conference held at an ambassadorial level in New York. What happened in Islamabad, I think the presence of some esteemed leaders of the Islamic countries in commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the creation of Pakistan was utilized by the host country for a political gain in favor of Taliban. Distinguished Ambassador of Pakistan also referred to the statement made by Commander Massoud, advocating that it is the resoluteness of Commander Massoud to continue to fight on different battles against the Taliban. Yes, he said that, and he made that statement. As long as the Taliban continue to reject any proposal for dialogue and political settlement, Commander Massoud and the other members of the Supreme Council for the Defense of Afghanistan has no other option but to continue to defend territorial integrity, national unity, and sovereignty of Afghanistan. In brief, Mr. President, I would like to put it in the record of the Security Council that tolerance against the Taliban and their supporters would mean tolerance against human rights, justifying obscurantism, against the principles of democracy, against rejectionism, and continued intransigent attitude towards the resolutions of the United General Assembly and of the Security Council. And I thank you, sir.
I thank distinguished Acting Minister for Foreign Affairs of Afghanistan for his statement.